The enemy is not critical race theory, the enemy are the premises that underpin it, and particularly the premise that human beings have no agency to understand the world and fight for a better world and create a better world and write history. Around this time last year, I was introducing a 16-week course on critical race theory, so I said, okay, let's do some research about it. So I go to my library, I have a huge shelf on social science textbooks, on social science reader, and I go to the contents of each book trying to find critical race theory. Nothing. Then I say, okay, maybe it's not in the name of a chapter, maybe I'm missing something. I go to the index, critical race theory, critical race theory. In most of the books, there was nothing, or maybe one or two references. And my books are not that old. They were from around 2012, 2015. And I thought, how odd. The set of ideas that is dominating the public sphere these days, the set of ideas that have created such a fire in the culture wars were not even in the books, literally in the sociology books 5 years ago. Although the theory, as we said, is quite old. It goes back to the 80s. So the question is why? Why is it a formerly obscure theory, a theory that very few people have read, suddenly became so big? The obvious answer is that in 2020, people were in search for a narrative to explain the injustice they saw in front of them on TV. But I think there's a second reason. And the reason is that critical race theory is an umbrella under which most of the bad ideas and the bromides of the philosophy of the last 40, 50 years have found a house. And also critical race theory is America's self-hate and self-disdain finding a voice. And let me elaborate what I mean with these two. What happened here? What have we been hearing from all prominent philosophers since the 50s? That universal humanism is a scam. That universal liberalism is a Eurocentric approach. And what has been the antidote that has been given us? Identity politics. Well, what is CRT other than identity politics in steroid? Similar to its cousin, to its philosophical cousin, which is white nationalism. What have we been hearing since time immemorial? That we don't understand the world through reason, because reason is not something which is universal. There is white reason, black reason, working class reason, male reason, and female reason. What does CRT tell us? Oh, maybe in court there was not a single evidence that the killer of George Floyd was racist, but my lived experience tells me that he was racist. How can you challenge that, if not by reason? We've been hearing for ages that institutions such as the rule of law or private property are a tool of domination of the white class, or a tool of domination of capitalism. What does CRT tell us? That we need to get rid of these institutions. And so that you don't think I'm strawmanning, this is from Delgado and Stefansi's very short quote, their book with the title Critical Race Theory. So they say, quote, CRT questions the very foundations of the liberal order, including equality theory, legal reasoning, enlightenment rationalism, and neutral principles of constitutional law. So your average conservative friend on Facebook will tell you that CRT is, quote, Marxism or communism. Actually, it's much worse. Because it wants to undermine not an economic system, it wants to undermine the noble principles and values that underpin the system, which is equality in front of the law, the right to hold property, and what we understand by capitalism. And by the way, these are the principles that have liberated and corrected every injustice in history. The idea that we are human beings, individual human beings, and we all have the same, and we all have a moral value. What else have we been hearing for decades? That human beings have no agency, that we cannot change history, that history is still happening to us. What does critical race theory say? What does Derek Bell say? He has this thing called convergence theory. which means that every progress that has happened in racial relations is a gift by the white elite to the still oppressed black community. This is another way to tell to Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King, you didn't achieve that. Because you can achieve nothing, you have no agency. What a horrible idea, and yet unfortunately, what a popular idea these days. And when it comes to the United States, we've been told time and again that the core of that country is rotten. That things like the American dream or meritocracy are just a myth. And this is why in 2020 so many people were eager to say yes, down with this country. So how do we fight these bad ideas? Two ways. The first is, first of all, to properly understand it. And properly understanding will go beyond cliches like this is neo-Marxism or they want to destroy the West or whatever. Because if you don't understand something, you can't criticize. The most important thing is to fight the, as we said, racial and racist theory which is here. We have to take away from it the ground on which it stands. And the ground on which it stands is two popular beliefs. The first popular belief is that human beings understand the world based on their identity, based on their group. We need to take this idea and throw it to the bin and make great again the idea that no, we understand the world through our own minds. There's no white mind, there's no female mind, there's no as a woman, I think, as a Greek, I think. No, it's only I think. You take this away from critical race theory, the whole thing collapses. And the other thing we need to throw to the bin is this idea that we're avatars of our identity, that we live for the group, that if Kanye West, who by the way talks full of crap, but the fact that Kanye West doesn't follow the party line means he's not quote real black. What does this mean? You don't live for your identity, you don't think for your identity, you don't think for your group. You think and you live for yourself. You do form groups with other people because this is something that makes life so much better, but you form a group based on values. Not on your gender, not on your color, not on your ethnicity even, irrespective of what the racists of the left or the racists of the right are telling you. So this is the way to get rid of critical race theory, because we cannot have justice, however you want to call it, racial justice, social justice, or civil justice, if we don't base it on the proper reactions together on how we challenge it, how we fix it, and all that stuff. So the first thing is that we need to address the injustice in a better way. Critical race theory, despite all its problems, was addressing something which wasn't is real. Racism has always been a problem. It's way much better than it used to be. But we have to do a better job than critical race theory. And many good theorists had a blind spot for racism, particularly post-civil rights. So we have to do a better job than there. The second thing we need to do is to focus on what is the essence of racism. So I would engage these people. You know, you don't like racism, right? Why do you like racism? By the way, usually there they block. Oh, you don't like racism, or the answer should be you don't like racism because it destroys your mind and it destroys the way you view people. Instead of viewing people as individuals, you view them and valuing and judging them as individuals, you view them as a group. Therefore, saying all white people makes you part of the problem. So if you're addressing a rational mind or an open mind, at least this will put a seed on the head that, oh, wait a minute, am I the body here as the deed goes. On the issue of assimilation, why there is no attempt to assimilation? Assimilate to what? What does it mean to be British today? Or to be American today? What are the values of who is standing up for these values? So there's nothing to assimilate on, unfortunately. And the last thing to our friend who said, someone told you I'm so sorry to be white. This makes as much sense as me going to a Persia and saying we kicked your ass in Marathon and in Thermopylae back in the day. I didn't have anything to do with it. Because Leonidas and Miltiades, I can be inspired by it, or I can learn lessons by it. But saying I take credit for Marathon is absolutely crazy. So, again, I would try to address that person rationally to whatever point was. Yeah. On the last point, which is very important. So what we see in conservatives doing in the United States is passing state-level legislation against critical race theory. This, in a way, has the same problem as critical race theory itself, which is a disdain for ideas, a disdain for humans having agency, a disdain for humans being able to judge right for wrong. So when I say getting rid of CRT, I mean getting rid of its bad premises. Definitely not curtailing people's free speech on it. Now the question is, what do you do with state education? This becomes the official dogma. This is almost unsolvable. I'm not in favor of the state saying what should be taught. How you negotiate this, good luck, and whoever is a teacher has to deal with this. And what was the? Oh yeah, I'm drawing a blank, so I will leave this as my last point. The enemy is not critical race theory. The enemy are the premises that underpin it, and particularly the premise that human beings have no agency to understand the world and fight for a better world and create a better world and write history. And yeah, I'll finish with that.